Hello, everyone. Welcome to the session, and I'm Wang from Virginia Tech. So today I'm going to share with you one example and how do I develop this mobile apps and actually convert my result will be used for the future practitioners. So let me first share the screen. So I'm going to walk you through one example from a recently published paper. Actually, it's in this I think month in JM. It's a paper using online review from Amazon, using embedding model, what-to-vector model to understand consumers' understanding about the attribute and from the product features. So this is example I'm going to walk you through. But before that, so the content of this session will be including actually four parts. The first part, I'm going to talk about the general summary. It's about how the framework about the flow should look like. The second step about like the framework, each component and the content, what is it about? I want to clearly define each content for those who want to use the similar tools, and how do you find some online free version, and how do you replace some of the function I used with different data set and with different tools. The third part will be a real example from Amazon, actually the data is from the JM paper, to see how it look like, a result should be look like, and what interface should look like. In the end, will be the appendix. So there are many ways to build an app, of course. But I want to introduce with some free and easy to start to use software tools for those beginners who want to maybe build your app by yourself, learning something, or you want to hire a freelancer and maybe some RAs and how to communicate with them. So starting with the part one, general summary. So as I said, this is a text mining project. So the user interface is to enter your text either from PC or mobile, that you have a server like HTTP protocol to transfer data to the server that they're able to store and process the data using any of the existing machine learning methods like neural network and deep learning to capture the result and finally return to your PC and your smartphone screen. So you have multiple ways to represent your result, either by chart, by figure, by numbers, and we can all predefine the interface and settings. So this will be the interface look like. And on here, on the left-hand side, it is about the input of the data. You can define a model here, and also you can input your text data. As I said, my project is about text. But in your world, if you want to upload image, video, as Amazon has a way about Amazon Cloud Computing, you're able to upload all those unstructured data. You can set this the same way to upload this unstructured data. And the result will be output like either on PC here or on mobile version. So you can define that this is the input data you input, for example, and this is result presented by pie chart, and this is each steps when we are processing the data to choose the features and the selection features and finally finish the result. Of course, these are just a simple case. We can implement more detailing if you want when you develop your own apps. So the overall framework will be the interface from PC to mobile, moving to the brain, and then operationalize it and return to the interface. So it contains four different steps, and which I'm going to introduce you one by one. So the user layer will be the way to input data, and the web server is the way that help you to store the data into a PHP, and then transfer data to the format. That's called operation. Remember, these are the toolbox where install. You are free to install any of the toolbox. If you don't want to use Python, you want to use R, you want to use Stata, you want to use MATLAB, so feel free to do that. And this is the toolbox for the text mining. You have other open source for the Python as well if you want to analyze the image and any other of the data. So any other of the model, here's a place. Then you return to the, as I said, the layer here to compute each steps. So my model including several steps, then you return to the result. So to help you better understand the framework, you can see the server project line, the brown line here will tell you, oh, the input data, the format is wrong. That is why they cannot, moving forward, they return back to original. You have to re-enter the correct format of the text. If the moving forward, the line and arrows are correct, we show green something here. And the red means it does not work. And finally, there will mix the channel to tell you the result will be either calculatable or the result will show some of the error message. So without further explained here with some buzzwords, let me give you a detailed definition and example when I'm starting the part 2, which are called workflow. There are several tools will be easy to use has been widely used here. So the first of them is called UniApp. So UniApp is a framework for developing all front-end apps using Vue.js. So developer write a set of codes which can be publishing either Mac or PC or web anywhere. Okay, so it's open to whether you're a Mac user, whether you're PC users. Vue.js is a JavaScript framework that help us to building the user interface. It's building on top of the standard HTML, still in the HTML and JavaScript, and provide a component-based programming model that help you efficiently develop the interface. So we'll see, we'll have to use this and in our framework here. But if you have other alternative ways, then it's the place to replace here as well. And you also have Dash Builder. It's a super powered IDE for Vue. It's just one of the powered IDE for Vue. So starting from here, let's see how the interface looks like. You try to send out the text, the request. Of course, if moving forward is okay. If that's not, they have to tell you it's illegal text. So using Vue framework to create a user interface can adapt to a variety of the resolution screen and a variety of the devices. So as far as I know, most of the devices, iPad, no matter you are like Apple or other tablets and PC and smartphone, are widely adopted and used. So as I said, this is an example for the PC version and also for the mobile version. The step 2, we're going to create a prototype drawing with draw. And you can hear, for when you want to create a prototype, it is you to define this interface. You can put a logo here. You can also define that the core competence of your model, give a description. And then here is the input, the user input area, what kind of data. And you can create a button for submit. And then this is a step-by-step display to tell you by calculation where we at each step. This is the result. So simple text mining, I want to show frequency. This will tell you the pie chart frequency. You can also choose the histogram, anything you think is better to represent your result. Yeah, feel free to choose here. So this is the description of the algorithm, input data, send out data, calculation by each step. And here's the result. So my example will be, you can see here, the new screen of the Nexus 7 is absolutely stunning. The screen resolution makes text significantly sharper for you to read. So we want to pre-processing the data, and we also want to highlight some key features we want to understand, because you can see some of the verb and adjective, they're not that very important at this stage. So we can do some simple screening to draw this data. So you basically transfer code to this user interface. And then the next step is to just show the result you want to present, and this button will tell you, okay, you're finished. There are 50% of the customers here, they want to describe and use the same attribute when they talk about a particular feature of the product, same as the screen resolution, but the other consumers, maybe 30%, do not use that. They want to use a screen, and this is the most frequent keywords they describe. Give a big summary about their text they want to input, comparing with the existing or the large pool of the data. So this could be including the bolded prediction result, frequent count result, and others. So once the input data, then we have the natural language processing computer service. So what is that? So the natural language computing service, that we need a web server because you're not compute actually your data in your computer. You're going to compute all this in the server. So it's same as the traditional HTTP server project. It's an effort to develop and maintain open source HTTP for the modern operations. It only works for the Unix and also for the Windows. So the goal of this project is to provide a secure, efficient, and extendable server that provide HTTP service with the current HTTP standard. So what is the HTTP web service and standard? A popular general purpose scripting language that is specially suited to the web development. So PHP actually is the most powerful. Everything from your blog to most popular website and in the world. You can just think about this as a server, and we talk about this as brain. At the very beginning, I talk about like the human being, same as a brain. This is the center that's able to power like your blog, the Twitter, and any of the personal page. You can do it. And where to store the data after that? It is the MySQL. So I think these things I should not repeat it because all of us know that MySQL is one of the best rational database managed system. So applied for any of the web application development. So we store data there. So basically speaking is that we want to transfer the uni app information to PHP using the format that PHP wants. Basically, if you see here, it's the listing to string to JSON. It's the uni app to PHP. So here are some of the simple code. The goal at this step is to transfer the data through JSON interaction because it is in uni app. Remember the first step? Now we input data. Now it is moving to the brain, the center PHP that are able to read in data and then eventually make MySQL to store data. So you put data here, moving on to the PHP, let MySQL to store the data. What's next? So the next is that to call some function that exists in toolbox. It's the time to decide whether your data, your machine learning model are conducted by Python, by R, or MATLAB. This is the time. And here are the functions like NLTK. We know that this is the machine learning and text mining tools here as well. So you have to install and call all these tools. And I think most of us we do machine learning, we know that these things are already pre-installed in the computer, so no problem. So the Python package installed, and in my case, we install some package like the XLRD for Excel, and we also installed an NLTK for text mining. So there are many versions of the Python. Make sure when you develop, use the latest version. And also the GSIM is the natural language processing tools, and from the Python library, especially particularly important and easy to use for the topic modeling. So there are way many library from Python that we can use and call. It just depends on what you need. And it's the time for you to choose the right function and from the library to adopt existing tools to achieve your computational purpose. So, but here you can see from PHP to Python, there's another step, shell. So what is the shell script? Shell script is a computer program designed to run by the Unix shell. That's a command of the interpreter. So the varieties of the shell script are considered to be script language. So typically, these are operations performed by shell script, including the file manipulation, program execution, and print text. So you want to make sure all the formats are correct, because if you have the PHP and storing the MySQL, the data, you want to choose call for a different language, Python, R, MATLAB, to process those data. You want to have a shell script to connect it. So the framework will be the PHP, the shell execution, that's the shell script, and in the end, you're going to use the Python. So PHP uses the shell text it to pass argument to Python file in the form of the system commander, similar as Python format here. So that's the way to connect PHP with the Python. Of course, we can connect with the PHP with other tools as well, as mentioned. It will be easy way to implement. You can find some free tools online for different language and the tools. So in my example here, that's the step 3, which I'm going to introduce is text mining tools. And of course, I need to read the CSV file or the Excel file. And the package from the library will be Excel RD. And the basically tokenization to figure out the grammar relationship of this world is the NLTK, that's the natural language processing tokenization. And also try to the diagram and the GSM space, you want to separate world as well. That's another library we're talking about. The fundamental model that I'm using for the JM paper is the what-to-vector model and developed by Google. And we also call it sometimes the skipgram model. And in the paper, it's called embedding model. We're basically embedding the text to a different vector space. So for example, here we can capture the window of the 3 and just for sake of brevity, of course. Now the computational power, we're able to have a longer window to capture this world's meaning. And we want to build to use the what-to-vector GSM. And here's some of the code and example. And you can also find the pseudocode in my JM paper in the appendix last 2 pages. So that's the way to load and test the result. So the big idea for that paper is to go beyond the LDA model, only have the lower level term, and then you aggregate with a group like the cluster. So the meta attribute idea is basically just like I said, this is the step 4. You're removing the noisy words, product names, and all these buzzwords. You are able to extract the most important attributes and features that you think is particularly for this product category and industry. So you can see here, I developed there 4 or 5 different steps, and it's up to you. You can try to define multiple steps as you need. The screen, a new screen of the Nexus 7 is after turning, the screen resolution makes text significantly sharp for you to read. And we have the remove noisy words, product name, common, because we are interested only in the noun or noun phrases. The skipgram model, they also use the Nexus sampling, and the result, we are able to get the important attribute we are interested in. For bigram, not the unigram, is screen resolution here, right? Because all the rest, either they are common noun or brand name or some of the noisy words. So if we are able to extract many information, like the attributes from a large giant data set of the Amazon review or any of the online review. So for example, here, all this information is talking about the from a tablet computer industry. You can see the PC industry that talk about screen resolution, talk about the battery, and talk about display, and talk about the RAM as well. So if you're doing the LDA will provide only with like one step. You group this and you give a name for the cluster. So the model of the what-to-vector model, which through the validation in the JM paper, would provide that it could be multiple steps, right? So it can aggregate, for example, the screen and screen resolution, and it could be aggregated together first. And moving further, in the end, it could be named as a hardware specification. But for each step, there can be some maybe small group and small cluster. Is a hierarchical way to consider the consumer benefit when they view about the attribute. It's not only 2 levels. Someone maybe think about there is another attribute in between. So that's the way to look at it. And when we try to build this model, we want to incorporate each step and call a function which we need to use for this model particularly. So that's basically will be the overall how this like apps using look like. And I think this JM paper is a good example using these days we call it unstructured data, it's a text data, but you are free to use any of the tools and for your data as far as it's something that you can see there is some practical, meaningful, and insightful reason for the managers. It's better to maybe try to start something, develop something cool, and make people use it. So for those who think you understand basic logic, maybe you can stop here. But for those you think you want to keep maybe open a dialogue with some computer scientists and with some freelancer will help you develop the apps, I think next couple of slides will help you especially for the beginners and why to start. As I said, some of the tools like the new and also the Uni app, the Think PHP, the Python, of course, here could be replaced by other tools. So this is something it's better for you to consider. And we create the drawing with this interface look like, and so that's the end. You need to maybe predefine these things and how your app should be look like as designer perspective before starting all these things. Because during the steps, you might do some change, but the layout, it is better to start at the very beginning. So this is my layout, would look like. Okay, so yeah, so I think that's basically what I want to cover for my session. And I'm going to present like this example on my web page. And feel free to ask me with further questions if you do have one. And I hope you all have a great experience while developing these apps and for the JM special issue. And thank you so much. And that's all for my part. Thank you.